Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Childhood Finds, and thank you for joining me here today. We're doing the weekly What Sold video, and this is going to be for April 28th through May 4th of 2025, and my sales are doing very well. I got very lucky with quite a few high dollar sales that really brought up my total, so I'll share a lot of that with you today. I want to talk a little bit about my numbers, and then there's one specific thing I want to talk about really quick before we get into what sold. And so this week I really tried to list, and I listed 102 new items, and they were totaled out to $3,633 in value. So I am very happy with that. That's almost $36 value per listing, which is really good for me. And I don't know that I can keep up those numbers all the time because sourcing is, very hit or miss, but it felt good to do that this week. And then my sales, I had 76 different listings sell, and that was 1 on Facebook Marketplace, 73 on eBay, and 2 on Etsy. I am starting to have doubts about cross-listing. I really am going to have to evaluate if it's worth getting 2 or 3 sales every week. Maybe I just need to up my cross-listing a little more, give it one last chance, but that is something I'm thinking about. And then my eBay gross sales was around $3,100 or so. And so the thing I want to talk about really quick before we get started on sales is I want to discuss one thing that might be hurting your sales, because I know it was hurting mine. And what it is essentially is just motivation and trying to compare yourself to others and getting down by it. So I do this all the time, and I'm trying to get better about not doing it, because like many of you guys, I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of other resellers, and I see lots of other resellers in my area, and it feels like all of them are doing better than I am. And I have been working my butt off lately trying to get my, full-time reselling really progressing and really to a point where I can live comfortably and pay off all the debt I've incurred over the years. And it's hard to see others because I feel like my success is nowhere near their success and that I'm just not good enough to do this. So why I'm talking about this is I want to encourage you to stop thinking about that, or at least take the steps to stop thinking like that, because it really starts to affect you. It really brought me down a lot. I've made videos about my motivation being basically zero many times, and it's hard. I just try to think about what goals I want for myself. And right now, my goals are, I am meeting my goals. I am happy with my sales. And of course, you always want more, but I am happy with what I am doing right now with myself. But when I watch other YouTubers, especially, I watch a lot of people that have two doing this, so couples, etc. And I watch a lot of those people and I think I'm doing nowhere near what they are doing. But you have to remember, I'm one person. It's pretty much me doing 95% of my eBay stuff. So I have to keep that in mind that, when you have two people, you can almost double it, right? That's in theory. So it's just something that I want to encourage you guys to stop focusing on what others' numbers are and focus on yours. You can use it as motivation, say like that number that this person is getting is what I want to be at. Do that, but don't let yourself get down because you're not doing as well as someone else. You also have to factor in that every area is different. My area is very different than any others. I mean, my thrift stores are going up all the time, but they're still not as bad as other thrift stores. My garage sales have not been great this year. And so you have to just set your own goals. So that's what I'm really just talking about, is set your own goals and don't let yourself get depressed because you're not doing as well as other people are. As long as you're doing well enough that you feel proud of yourself, that's really all that matters. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's a mindset I'm trying to get into because I know that I let my lack of motivation really affect my business for a long time. So now I'm just focusing on my numbers and I'm seeing the improvement as I go forward. So I'm only looking at my improvement now. So I'm seeing how I'm growing from each month to each year. And that's how I'm basing how I feel about my business, is if I am putting in the effort and I'm seeing the growth, that is going to be what matters the most to me. So that being said, guys, I had to ramble a little because it was just weighing on me that I felt like this was something I really wanted to talk about. Because I don't want anybody to feel discouraged because say your numbers aren't like mine. That's okay, because maybe you're only part-time, maybe you're only a side hustle, maybe you live in a rural area, or maybe you are doing way better than me. It just, use mine as a guide maybe if you want, but don't let it bring you down at all. So guys, let's get started on some what sold. I did have quite a few good ones to share with you today. A lot of amazing books are what really saved my sales this week. So let's get started on looking at those. The first thing we're going to start with came from my recent buy of a bunch of perfume, colognes, body lotions, etc. And this one is Estee Lauder Beautiful. It has the body lotion, bath, and shower gel, and perfume in it. It was sealed and it sold for $54.95. And that same buyer also came and purchased this bath and shower gel just by itself for $31.45. And I probably have, I don't know exactly, but it's less than $5 into each of those from that sale. It was a bulk buy. This one I actually got from a friend that was moving, and it's a Final Fantasy Remake Deluxe Edition for the Sony PlayStation 4, so PS4, and it sold for a best offer of around $40, so all of that's profit, so I'm really grateful for that. That was just a really nice thing to let me sell. And then this is Nancy Drew Cameo Edition, The Mystery at the Ski Jump. And the illustrator for this was Polly Bolin. And these are desirable editions. So they're not first editions by any means, but these are a desirable one. They're easily identifiable by this dust jacket here and how it looks. And they're just very desirable ones. I sold a couple separate and then I sold a few in lots because they just weren't in great condition. But this one sold for $22.45 and it sold to the same buyer for this one. And this one sold for $19.76. And this is the Clue of the Black Keys. And both of those sold. They're just a very desirable one. They seem to have some good value. Next, we have a belt buckle, and this is Duncan Laurie Cross 1970 solid brass belt buckle. It sold for best offer of $25, and it was just a very nice message I got from the buyer. It was sweet because they're like, I'm in no hurry to get this. I'm just so excited about it. And it's always fun when you get nice people. This one is a Nintendo 64 authentic atomic purple clear controller. It sold for $16 on a best offer, which wasn't bad at all. I got this from my source and it took a few weeks to sell. This falls into I always talk about pretty books, and this is an antique one as well. And this is Milton Poems, the poetical works of John Milton Belford, Clark and Co. It's from 1886, and I got this at an estate sale. It's been a couple weeks now, but this sold for a best offer of $30, and I only paid $1 for it at the estate sale. And then the next two lots sold to the same buyer. It's Pottery Barn Tivoli brass stainless with silver finished teaspoons, and it was two of them, and both of them sold to the same buyer for $38. These I have shown before, but I'm showing them again because I am still so surprised by the price. And it's Nikon Magsteps magnetic insoles. They were uncut and they sold for $58.95. I got these from my source. These have taken a couple months to sell, but I don't care. They're so easy to store and list. Then here we have a Griswold number 8 small logo cast iron skillet 704, and this did sell for $49.95. This was one of those moments where I knew I was going to have to Frankenstein a box for it because it wouldn't fit any of my already pre-done boxes that I buy. But I had one sitting in the garage that perfectly fit it, and there is nothing that beats that feeling, guys. I mean, I guess there probably is, but really, that feeling of knowing you don't have to Frankenstein and you just already have the perfect box, it is the best feeling. if you agree, you can put that in the comments. I think it's definitely one of the best feelings, because I hate Franken boxes. I hate doing them. But this did sell for the $50, and I'd say it only took 2 weeks or so, and that one came from my source. This is the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Official Game Guide Collector's Edition. It did not have a map. With many of these game guides and, Nintendo Powers, all of those things, you need to check other listings because there are many things that come with extras. And a lot of times people pull them out, like these maps. They're just ones that they just are on the serrated edge and you can pull them out. So just always check because that will, of course, affect the value on them. But this did sell for $28.95. And then this is a Viewmaster Red Viewer 3D toy with 21 reels, and they were Disney, Lion King, Lionkind, okay, Aladdin, and more. And it did sell for a best offer of $30. So your Viewmaster really isn't worth very much, maybe $10. It's the reels that can really help the value of this lot. So just keep that in mind if you find these. These are what you want to look for. It absolutely helps to have the Viewmaster with them, but the reels are the ones that are desirable. And then I have a couple books now that they really helped my sales. I got these at an estate sale and I paid maybe $1 or $2 each. And they sold fast and I still have one left of them. And this is Wind, Dust, and Snow 2 by Robert Anderson, Big Game Hunting Safari Press. They were limited editions and they were signed. So they had the signature inside with the number. And I found a few by the same author, and this one sold for a best offer. It was either 99 or 100. So all of these sold for 99 and more. So this one was a 99 or 100. And then I'll show you some more here soon. This is Inuyasha. I always butcher. Inuyasha, Secret of the Divine Jewel, Nintendo DS. This was only the cartridge, and it did sell for $49.95. I love when I'm able to test them to show that it's working. So there it shows up on my DS or my 3DS, and then there it is playing. I just like to show that as an extra bump to prove it, I suppose, especially games that are worth $50. And it took a few weeks or so to sell, but it sold. And this is Jockey Pouch Men's Full Rise Briefs, white size, large pack of 3. I love picking up underwear. So easy. This sold for a best offer of $19, and I got this for, I'd say, $4 or less at an estate sale. It was kind of a bulk buy, so it was 4 or less. And then this I just recently got from my source. It sold in a day or so, and it's a decorative marble onyx rotary telephone works vintage. These pictures are terrible. I'm going to soon be setting up a different photo station. It's just for right now. I'm just making what I have work, but I'll be setting up a different area and I'll have a higher table because anybody that has a low table that takes pictures and you have that back bend, it just rips your back apart after a while if you take a lot of photos at once. But this did sell for $70. The photo is whitewashed and terrible. I wasn't going to redo the photos. This is a vintage Dooney & Burke black leather solid brass duck keychain ring. It was just this tiny little keychain and it sold for $15.95. I'd say maybe in a couple weeks. These I just picked up at an estate sale, and they're Oneida Bancroft stainless steel teaspoons, ridged flared tip, and it was 3 of them, sold for $24.95. And these I was so excited to find at an estate sale. I think I was the second person at this estate sale because it wasn't very well advertised. And as soon as I walked into the room with the books, I knew what these were. I've seen them before and have always been looking for them. And they are Foxfire books set 1 through 5, Elliot Wigington, 1970s Appalachia homesteading prepper. And I got these 5, and then I got also book 7. So I just put book 7 as a separate listing and sold 1 through 5 together. And it sold for a best offer of, I believe, $50. And I paid 50 cents a piece for these. I was so excited to find them. This is 365 Tattoo Sketchbook by Martin Lacasse, Volume 3 only. And I have 2 other volumes, so there should have been 4 volumes in a set that I had, but I only had 3, so I just listed them all separately, and I got these from my source, and this one sold for $30. This book I got at a thrift store for $2.50. And it's been listed for a little while, and I was definitely shooting a little high for the price, so I took a best offer of $37 for it. And it's Mark Twain in Nevada, inscribed by Effie Mona Mack, first edition, 1947. You would be amazed how many items you can find signed and inscribed at thrift stores, garage sales, etc., because people just don't look at them. So it's definitely worth checking. I thought this was an interesting looking book, and that's why I opened it up to look, but it sold for $37. It took a little while to sell, but that's okay. This one took years to sell, and it's Walt Disney Presents Tin Panorama Record, 33 RPM, and it sold for a best offer of, I think it was $48. And I got this at an estate sale for like $1. So I don't care that it sat for years. And I was so flabbergasted when it sold, because it was one of those items I just accepted. It's never selling. And it did. I had a few of those items this week that they completely surprised me, because they're items I've had listed for years. That's why I tend to, if I have the space, not get rid of things, because someday they'll sell. Then we have this Nintendo Power Magazine. It's number 137, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. It had a poster and an Abra card in it, and it's been listed for probably a year and a half. So I ended up taking a best offer of $40 for it. I picked it up for $1 at an estate sale. Then this is another one of those really good books I found, and it's Great Rams 3 by Robert Anderson, Sheep Hunting and Hunter's First Edition signed. This is why I love books. There are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of books that are not valuable, but if you start to learn what to look for, then you can really start to make money on books. Last year was not a very good year for me to find books, but this year I'm doing better, and I found a lot more, and it's been fun because I missed them. I will say my back hurts a little more because I forget how darn heavy they are, but this did sell for $100, and they were completely passed over because there was people running into this estate sale just everywhere, but they didn't look at this little pile of books. And then this one was also there, and it's the Weatherby Stories Premier Big Game Hunters of the World. And it was also signed in a first edition, and it sold for $125. And I have one more of the Big Rams book, and so that's over $400 just in books that I got from that sale. Then this I picked up on Facebook Marketplace in a little bulk buy. I paid $120 for 7 different action figures, and this was one of them. And it's a 2003 McFarlane Toys Jimi Hendrix, sealed. I didn't realize this was water damage when I picked it up, but it was still a good deal, so it's fine. It sold for $45, and I was just very clear and took a lot of pictures of the damage. It was still, you can't even tell from this picture. It was, when you look up close, you could see it. And this is the new Ford V8 cars for 1937 vintage sales vehicle brochure ephemera, just a little tiny couple pieces of paper, sold for $11.95. This was a Sony Handycam, and this was HDR-ZX240, the model number, and I did read, because it didn't come with a memory card, and I just wanted people to be very clear about that. This was a very cool model because the charge cable was actually in it. So it was in the hand hold thingy. You can see this cord over here. It was actually, that's your charging cable. Brilliant. So that you don't have to, so many people lose the charger for this, and there it is right there. And you just plug it into USB. So that had its cord, and it did sell for $125. And I got this at a recent estate sale for $10. And this is some of my Royal Albert Old Country Roses. This is 6 of my salad plates, and they sold for a best offer of $45. And then here's some more Nancy Drew. These ones all had, their dust jackets were torn, they weren't great shape, so it was just easier than selling these for 5 to 10 a piece. And they sold for $27.95 this lot, and it was Nancy Drew, Carolyn Keene, vintage book lot, 1930s to the 1950s lot of 9. And none of them were first editions or anything. So you can see them all there. Some don't have dust jackets, some are damaged. I could have made more if I parted them out, but. And then here are those Nancy Drew cameo editions that I talked about with the Polly Bolin illustrator. And these were 4 that there was maybe water damage on the dust jacket. There was writing on all the pages. So they all had some sort of condition issue. So I just lotted all 4 of them together for $32.95. Both of those lots sold to the same buyer, and I probably could have got more on each lot because they sold quick, but they're on their way to their new home. And this is Invincible Compendium Volume 1 by Robert Kirkman. This I just got from my source and sold within a couple of days internationally, and it sold for $59.95. Nothing beats an international sale that is a little higher dollar because you don't have to worry so much. This I got at a recent estate sale, and it's a Valvoline patch trucker style hat, snapback, foam, oil, gas, advertising, USA, vintage. Lots and lots of keywords. I got 2 of this exact same hat, and it ended up selling for $14 on a best offer. This one has been listed forever. The picture is horrible. It's been listed for years. It is on the floor. I would never put anything on the floor anymore, but this was early Sarah, and it's vintage 24-inch Wile E. Coyote stuffed plush toy. And I have 4 pictures. I mean, just the epitome of an early reseller that has no idea what they're doing. But it sold for $15. And let's hope it doesn't come back. This is the Arabian Nights Richard Burton collectible leather-bound Easton press, and this one was sealed. I got it at the local Goodwill for $4.99 and took a best offer of $35. I am all about just moving stuff now. Even though I know I could get a few more dollars out of this if I waited, I'm just moving stuff now. You know, there's a few things that I am a little more picky on my price, but for the most part, I'm just trying to make good money and get it going. This I've had listed for a while. I got it at Goodwill, I think, around here, less than $5. I don't know how much, but less than $5. And it's Sacred Contracts, The Journey Interactive Experience for Guidance Tarot Card Game. And it sold for this $34.16. And again, it did take a long time to sell. Then we have a Splash Out Water Balloon Game by Galoob, complete with balloons, hot potato. And this sold for $17.05. This had been listed a bit over a year, but it sold for $17.05. I think I have $1 into it. And then I just have a couple from Etsy. And this is a wood jewelry trinket box, brass inlay, woman figure, belly dancer. And this sold for $14.95. I do like Etsy. You know, I haven't sold a lot there, but it seems like things that you wouldn't necessarily sell very well on eBay can sell well over there. And also things sell for, it seems like, higher dollar. And then this next one also sold on Etsy if it ever loads. And this has actually been listed for 2+ years on eBay. And it's a Gun Mutsy dog plush golden retriever stuffed animal suede paws 16-inch. And it sold after maybe a week of being on Etsy for $21.95. So that is one thing about, you know, the cross listing that I'm trying to grapple with on what I want to do, because, you know, it's just being able to sell something that's been listed forever on eBay really quickly just because new eyes are seeing it. So I don't know. I just got to reevaluate, or maybe I just need to dedicate more time to cross-listing. Maybe that's my issue. If I cross-list, it's a few items a day at the most. So maybe I just need to bump that up for 5 to 10 items a day and see if that makes any difference. Because I do like the extra money, because it really does feel like extra money, because I live off of eBay, and then it's just that extra bit that I get from everything else. So guys, that's all I have today. And I know I rambled in the beginning, but I hope you guys think about that, to try not to compare yourself too much to others, because as long as you are feeling good about your success, that's what matters the most. I am growing, and that's what I'm focusing on. I am growing in a way that makes me very proud. And so I'm trying not to fixate on the fact that there's so many other resellers that do better than me, because there's always going to be people that are doing better than you. And so it's just, you got to focus on what your goals are. So set goals and let that be the guidance for how you're feeling about your business. So everybody, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on the next video.